Riya had always believed that some friendships were unbreakable. Hers and Arjun's was one of them. They met in college, two introverts who found solace in each other's quiet company. While others partied, they stayed up discussing philosophy, childhood scars, and the kind of love that didn't demand ownership. They were the kind of friends who didn't need words to understand each other, who could sit in silence without it ever feeling heavy. But when Arjun started dating Meera, something changed. At first, it was small. Late night calls became scheduled texts. Their weekly cafe visits turned into monthly catch-ups. The inside jokes that used to flow effortlessly now required explanations. Riya told herself it was normal. People grew up, priorities shifted. But the gnawing feeling in her chest refused to quiet down. One evening, as she sat curled up on her balcony with a book, her phone buzzed. It was Arjun. "Hey, can't meet this weekend. Meera's got this thing planned." Riya stared at the message, her thumb hovering over the screen. A year ago, they would have spent the weekend watching terrible movies and debating whether pineapple belonged on pizza. Now, even their plans had an asterisk, subject to Meera's approval. She typed back, "No worries. Next time." Then, after a pause, she added a laughing emoji, just to make sure it didn't sound bitter. 3 weeks later, they finally met at their usual cafe. The same one where they'd spent rainy afternoons arguing about whether happiness was a choice or circumstance. But this time, Arjun was distracted. His phone buzzed every few minutes, his fingers tapping out quick replies before he'd even finish his sentence. Riya stirred her coffee, watching the foam dissolve into the dark liquid. "You're busy," she said, keeping her tone light. Arjun looked up, sheepish. "Sorry, just Meera's having a rough day." Riya nodded. She wanted to ask, when did her rough days start mattering more than ours? But she swallowed the words. Instead, she joked, "I see how it is. I've been replaced." Arjun laughed, shaking his head. "You're being dramatic. Nothing's changed." But it had. The next crack came on a random Tuesday night. Riya was scrolling through her playlist when that song came on, the one they'd listened to on loop during their road trip last summer. The windows down, the wind in their hair, singing off-key because neither of them could carry a tune. She smiled and sent him the link with a single message. "Remember this?" His reply came an hour later. "Nice. Meera thinks it's depressing though, lol." Riya stared at the screen. That's when she felt it, the unmistakable fissure in something she once thought was solid. It wasn't just the song. It was the way his world had recalibrated around Meera's opinions, her preferences, her presence. Riya's place in his life had quietly been reassigned to the margins. She didn't reply. A month passed. Their texts grew sparse, their conversations polite but hollow. Then one evening, Arjun called. Riya hesitated before answering. Hey, his voice was hesitant. I think Meera's uncomfortable with us hanging out so much. Riya's grip tightened around her phone. Oh, it's not a big deal, he rushed to add. She just thinks it's weird that we're so close. You know how people can be. Riya knew. She knew exactly how people could be. How friendships between men and women were always scrutinized. How emotional intimacy was often mistaken for something else. But she never thought Arjun would be the one to fold under that pressure. Right? She said softly. So what does that mean? There was a long pause. Then, almost apologetically, maybe we should take a step back for a while. The words settled between them, heavy and final. Riya closed her eyes. Okay. And just like that, the unbreakable thing broke. The restaurant was one of those dimly lit, overpriced places with tiny portions arranged like abstract art on oversized plates. Riya had suggested it. Somewhere trendy, somewhere Arjun would like. She hadn't accounted for Meera. Meera had arrived first, sliding into the circular booth with the ease of someone who belonged there. By the time Riya and Arjun walked in, there was only one empty seat left, the one beside Vikram, Arjun's old college friend, and across from Meera, who was already sipping a martini, her fingers curled around the stem like she was posing for a magazine. Oh, oops. Meera had giggled when Riya hesitated, looking at the spot beside Arjun, her spot, now occupied by Meera's leather jacket and oversized bag. I didn't even realize. Here, let me just... She made a half-hearted gesture to move her things, but Arjun waved it off. "Don't worry about it," he said, nudging Riya toward the other side. "It's just seating, just seating." Riya forced a smile and sat across from him, watching as Meera leaned in to whisper something to Arjun. He laughed, low and familiar, the way he used to laugh at her jokes. The appetizers came, and Meera's fingers darted across the table, plucking a truffle fry from Arjun's plate before Riya could even reach for one. "Remember that time in Goa?" Meera said, grinning. "When you dared me to eat that entire ghost pepper?" Arjun groaned. "And then you cried for an hour and made me run to get you milk? You were the one who panicked and called a doctor." Meera shot back, laughing. Riya chewed slowly on a fry that tasted like cardboard. She had never been to Goa with Arjun. Vikram, bless him, tried to include her. "Riya, you're into photography, right? Arjun, show me some of your shots. They're really good." Before she could answer, Meera gasped. "Oh my God." Speaking of photos, she pulled out her phone, scrolling rapidly. "Arjun, look what I found today." She turned the screen toward him, and Riya caught a glimpse of a younger Arjun, shirtless and sunburned, arms slung around a laughing Meera on some beach. "Delete that," Arjun said, but he was grinning. "Never," Meera sing-songed. "This is blackmail material." Riya took a long sip of her wine. That be why the time the main course arrived, Riya had counted 7 inside jokes. 7 times she had laughed along, pretending she understood. 7 times Arjun hadn't noticed her fingers tightening around her fork. Then came the scallops. Riya had ordered them without thinking. A small indulgence, something she rarely got to have. Meera's eyes flicked to her plate, then back up with a smirk. "Fancy," she said. Arjun, busy dissecting his steak, didn't look up. The bill came, and Meera snatched it before anyone else could react. "Let's split it properly," she announced, pulling a pen from her bag like she'd been waiting for this moment. Riya watched as Meera scribbled calculations, dividing the total with the precision of a tax auditor. "Okay, Vikram, you had the burger and 2 beers, so that's Arjun's steak and whiskey." "Riya," she paused, tapping the pen against her lip. "You had the scallops, babe, and that 2nd glass of wine. So that's, let's see." The number she wrote next to Riya's name was higher than it should have been. Riya knew because she'd been mentally keeping track. She opened her mouth to say something, but Arjun was already pulling out his wallet, tossing cash into the center of the table. "Here," he said, as if that settled it. Meera beamed, tucking the money away. "Perfect." Later, in the Uber, Riya stared out the window, the city lights blurring into streaks. "You okay?" Arjun asked, his fingers brushing her knee. "Yeah," she said. "Just tired." He nodded, already scrolling through his phone. A notification popped up, Meera's name, a laughing emoji. Riya closed her eyes and wondered when she had become the 3rd wheel in her own relationship. Riya stared at her phone screen, fingers hovering over the keyboard. The words, "Are we okay?" glared back at her, raw and vulnerable. She bit her lip, her thumb hovering over the send button before she quickly backspaced, deleting the message that, I'm overreacting." She tossed her phone onto the bed, exhaling sharply. Maybe she was reading too much into things. Arjun had always been affectionate, always warm with everyone. Maybe Meera was just another friend. Maybe Riya was being paranoid, but the gnawing feeling in her chest refused to fade. Later that evening, she met Priya at their usual cafe, the one with the 2 sweet lattes and dim lighting that made confessions easier. "You're overthinking it," Priya said, stirring her iced tea lazily. "Meera's just friendly. Remember how she was with Vikram last year? She's like that with everyone." Riya frowned, picking at the edge of her napkin. "But she's always texting him. And last week, she accidentally took his jacket home." Priya rolled her eyes. "And you're seriously going to be that girlfriend? That jealous, insecure one?" The words stung. Riya pressed her lips together, forcing a laugh. Yeah, you're right. I'm being stupid." But as she sipped her coffee, the bitterness lingered on her tongue. The next day, Arjun called just as Riya was leaving work. "Hey, about this weekend." His voice was apologetic, already preparing her for disappointment. "Meera's moving apartments, and she needs help with some heavy stuff. I promised I'd swing by." Riya's grip tightened around her phone. They had planned this weekend for weeks. A short getaway, just the two of them. A break from the chaos. "Oh," she said, her voice carefully neutral. "That's fine. I'll make it up to you," he promised. She wanted to ask why you. Why not her other friends? But she swallowed the words, forcing a lightness into her tone. "Yeah, no worries. Help your friend." When she hung up, she stood there for a long moment, the silence of her apartment pressing in on her. The next morning, Arjun picked her up for breakfast, a peace offering, she assumed. She slid into the passenger seat of his car, forcing a smile, and then she saw it. Draped carelessly over the back seat was a soft, floral-patterned scarf. Meera's scarf that Riya's breath caught. Arjun followed her gaze, then chuckled. "Oh, that's Meera's. She lent it to me weeks ago when it got chilly at the office. Forgot to return it." Riya nodded slowly, her fingers curling into her palms. Weeks ago, and yet it was still here, still in his car, as if waiting to be reclaimed. "Right?" she murmured. The air between them felt heavy, thick with words unsaid. But Riya stayed quiet, staring out the window as they drove away. Because the worst part wasn't the scarf, it was the way her heart had already begun to whisper the truth, long before her mind was ready to admit it. Riya had been rehearsing the words in her head all day. She had played out the scenario a dozen times. How she would bring it up, how he would react, what she would say next. But now, standing in front of Arjun, the question lodged itself in her throat like a stubborn knot. They were in their living room, the evening light casting long shadows across the floor. Arjun was scrolling through his phone, absently tapping at the screen, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside her. "Just say it." "Arjun," she began, her voice steadier than she expected. He didn't look up. "Is there something going on between you and Meera?" His fingers stilled. Slowly, he lifted his gaze, his eyebrows knitting together in genuine confusion. Then, after a beat, his lips twitched. A chuckle escaped him. "Wait, are you jealous?" His grin widened. "That's actually kind of cute." Riya's face burned. She hadn't expected that reaction. "I'm serious." Arjun set his phone aside and reached for her hand, pulling her down onto the couch beside him. "Riya, come on. You really think I'd do something like that?" She searched his face, the familiar curve of his smile, the warmth in his eyes. There was no guilt there, no flicker of deception, just amusement. "Then why do you text her so much?" she pressed. "And those late-night calls?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Meera's going through a rough patch with her divorce. She just needs someone to talk to. At midnight. Time zones, She's in London right now, remember?" Riya bit her lip. That made sense. But still, we've been together 5 years, Arjun said softly, squeezing her hand. "Why would I risk that?" The words wrapped around her like a blanket, warm and reassuring. 5 years of shared memories, inside jokes, quiet mornings, and loud fights, and making up again. 5 years of it. She exhaled. Maybe she was overreacting. "Okay," she murmured. Arjun pulled her closer, pressing a kiss to her temple. "You're the only one, Riya. Always." She wanted to believe him. And for a moment, she almost did. Later that night, as she lay in bed listening to Arjun's steady breathing beside her, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. A notification lit up the screen. It was Meera. "Thanks for tonight. You always know how to make me feel better." Riya's stomach dropped. Tonight? Arjun had told her he was working late. She turned her head slightly, studying his peaceful expression in the dim light. The man she loved, the man who had looked her in the eye and sworn there was nothing to worry about. Her fingers trembled as she picked up her phone. And just like that, the seed of doubt took root. Riya stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, the fluorescent light casting harsh shadows under her eyes. The argument from last night played on a loop in her head. Meera's saccharine apology, Arjun's dismissive tone, and worst of all, the seed of doubt now lodged deep in her chest. Did I really encourage them? She splashed cold water on her face, trying to shake the thought. But it clung to her, stubborn as a stain. The three of them had been at Meera's apartment last night, the air thick with tension disguised as casual conversation. Meera had accidentally brought up their college days, again, laughing about how Arjun used to crash on her couch after late-night study sessions. Remember how I'd always make him chai because he couldn't function without it? Meera had giggled, her fingers brushing Arjun's arm. Riya had stiffened, her grip tightening around her wine glass. Arjun, oblivious as ever, grinned. Yeah, you were a lifesaver. Still are. That's when Riya had let slip a dry, how touching. Meera's eyes had widened in exaggerated shock. Oh no, Riya, I never meant to step on toes. Her voice dripped with performative concern, like she was a soap opera heroine caught in a scandal. God, I'd hate to think I'm causing any trouble between you two. Arjun had immediately jumped in, not to reassure Riya, but to reframe the entire thing. Babe, you used to love how close I was with my friends. Remember how you said it was one of the things you admired about me? Riya had faltered. Had she said that? Now, sitting on the edge of her bed, she scrolled through old messages, searching for proof. Her thumb hovered over a 2-year-old text to Arjun. It's cute how much your friends adore you. Her stomach twisted. Out of context, it sounded like approval, but she meant it generally, not as a free pass for Meera to drape herself over him at every opportunity. Arjun walked in, still buttoning his shirt. You okay? You've been quiet. Just thinking, she said carefully. He sat beside her, his tone softening in that way that used to make her melt. Now it just made her wary. Is this about last night? Because Meera didn't mean anything by it. You know how she is. She's just affectionate. Affectionate. The word made her jaw clench. It's not about her, Riya lied. It's just, I don't remember being this okay with it before. Arjun sighed, his patience thinning. Riya, come on. You've never had a problem with Meera. Why now? That was the question, wasn't it? Why now? Maybe because Meera's harmless touches had grown longer. Maybe because her compliments to Arjun had started including, "You're so much more fun than your brother was." Maybe because every time Riya voiced discomfort, it was rewritten as her issue, her insecurity, her misinterpretation. Maybe I'm just tired, she said finally. Arjun kissed her forehead, satisfied with the answer. Get some rest. We'll talk later. As he left, Riya stared at her phone again, at the old messages that now felt like evidence against her. The worst part wasn't the doubt, i.e., was that she no longer trusted herself enough to know if it was justified. Riya stared at her phone screen, the notification burning into her retinas. Meera had posted a new picture, her and Arjun, smiling over coffee, their shoulders brushing. The caption read, "Always a good time with my favorite person." Riya's thumb hovered over the like button, but she couldn't bring herself to tap it. She scrolled down, her stomach tightening as she saw the comments. Inside jokes, heart emojis, Arjun's reply. "You're the best, Meera." She closed the app and exhaled sharply. It wasn't the photo itself that hurt, it was the cropping. The edges were jagged, as if someone had been cut out. Riya knew. She had been there that day. IT had started small. "Hey, Riya, we're grabbing lunch," Arjun had said, leaning against her desk. "You in?" Before she could answer, Meera had laughed, looping her arm through his. "Oh, we figured you'd be busy. Deadline coming up, right?" Riya blinked. I can take a break." But Arjun had already nodded, flashing her an apologetic smile. Next time? There was never next time. Her work suffered. "Riya," her boss said, frowning at the half-finished report on his desk. "This isn't like you." She swallowed. "I'll fix it. You've been distracted lately." His voice softened. "Everything okay?" "No. My best friend is slipping away, and I don't know how to stop it." "Just tired," she lied. That evening, Riya scrolled through her messages. The group chat, once buzzing with memes and plans, was silent. She typed, "Anyone up for dinner?" Read. No reply. An hour later, Meera posted another story. Arjun, Nikhil, and her at their usual spot. The table was set for 3. Riya put her phone face down. The isolation was a slow poison, and she was drowning in it, but Riya's fingers trembled as she held the receipt. The date, the price, the description, diamond stud earrings, all glaring back at her. She had stumbled upon it by accident while searching for a missing document in Arjun's desk. And now, the truth sat heavy in her palm, undeniable. the same earrings Meera had worn last week. Her breath came in short, sharp bursts as she paced the bedroom. Every instinct told her to confront him, but a small, fearful part of her hesitated. What if he had an explanation? What if she was overreacting? But then she remembered Meera's smug smile, the way she had casually flicked her hair, the diamonds glinting in her ears. Oh, these? Just a little gift. No, she wouldn't let this slide. Arjun was in the living room, scrolling through his phone when Riya walked in. She didn't sit. She didn't soften her voice. She simply held out the receipt. What is this? He glanced up, his expression shifting from surprise to irritation. Why are you going through my things? Answer the question. He sighed, tossing his phone aside. They were a thank you gift for Meera. She helped me with the Sharma account. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. The words echoed in her skull. A thank you gift? Riya's voice was dangerously low. Since when do you buy diamond earrings as a thank you? Since the client was worth $500,000, he snapped. You know how this business works. A little appreciation goes a long way. Appreciation? She let out a hollow laugh. Is that what you call it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like something else entirely. Arjun's jaw tightened. You're being paranoid. Am I? She stepped closer. Then why didn't you tell me? Why did I have to find out like this? Because I knew you'd overreact. He stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. You always do this, Riya. You twist everything into something it's not. Her hands clenched into fists. I'm not twisting anything. I'm asking for honesty, for respect, and I'm asking you to trust me. His voice rose, frustration bleeding into anger. But you never do. You're always looking for problems, always doubting me. Because you give me reasons to doubt you, she shot back. First, it's the late nights. Then it's the texts you forgot to mention. Now it's earrings? What next, Arjun? He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling sharply. This is ridiculous. I'm not having this conversation. Oh, we're having it. She blocked his path as he tried to walk away. I want boundaries. No more secret gifts. No more private dinners with Meera. If it's business, keep it professional. His eyes darkened. So now you're dictating who I can talk to. I'm asking you to be my husband, she said, her voice breaking. To act like you're married to me. For a moment, silence hung between them. Then Arjun shook his head. You're being controlling. Insecure. I won't let you micromanage my life. The words cut deep. Controlling. Insecure. Was that how he saw her? Then where does that leave us? She whispered. He didn't answer, just turned and walked away. That night, Riya lay alone in their bed, staring at the ceiling. The space beside her was cold, empty. Arjun had taken a pillow and blanket to the guest room without another word. She replayed the fight in her head, each word a fresh sting. Was she overreacting? Was she pushing him away? Or was this the beginning of the end? Down the hall, a door clicked shut. And for the first time, Riya wondered if she was the only one fighting for their marriage. Riya hated herself for what she was about to do. Her fingers trembled as she picked up Arjun's phone from the nightstand. He was in the shower, the sound of running water muffling the pounding of her heart. She had never been the kind of person to snoop. Distrust had never been part of their relationship. At least, not until recently. But the distance between them had grown too wide to ignore. The late nights at work, the sudden business trips, the way his eyes flickered away whenever she asked about his day. And then there was Meera, his new colleague, the one whose name slipped into too many of his stories, the one he always defended a little too quickly. Riya took a deep breath and unlocked his phone. His password was still the same, their anniversary. A small, cruel irony. She went straight to his messages. Nothing unusual in the recent chats, just work groups, a few friends, his family. But then she checked the deleted folder. Her stomach dropped. Months worth of texts with Meera. Flirty banter, inside jokes, late-night conversations. Nothing explicitly damning, but enough to make her skin crawl. And then she saw it, a booking confirmation for a hotel in Goa. A work trip he had mentioned last week. Except his team wasn't going. Just him. The shower turned off. Panic surged through her. She quickly closed the tabs, placed the phone back, and forced herself to sit on the bed, her hands clenched in her lap. Arjun stepped out, towel around his waist. humming. He froze when he saw her expression. "What's wrong?" he asked. Though his voice was guarded, Riya swallowed. There was no turning back now. "Who's Meera?" His face darkened. "What?" "The texts. The deleted ones. The hotel booking." Her voice was eerily calm, but her nails dug into her palms. Arjun's jaw tightened. For a second, she thought he might deny it. Then his eyes flicked to his phone, realization dawning. "You went through my phone?" His tone was sharp, accusatory. "Answer the question, Arjun." He exhaled sharply, running a hand through his damp hair. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" "Work. Just work. Work doesn't involve deleting texts or solo trips to go." His expression hardened. "So now I'm not allowed to have private conversations? To travel without reporting to you?" Riya flinched. "That's not what this is about, and you know it." "Then what is it about, Riya?" He stepped closer, his voice dropping low. "About you not trusting me? About you invading my privacy like some..." "Like some what?" she snapped. "Like some paranoid wife who's noticing her husband pulling away? Who hears him whisper another woman's name in his sleep?" The words hung between them. Raw and ugly, Arjun's face twisted. "You're imagining things." "Am I?" She stood, her legs unsteady. "Then show me the texts. Right now. Prove me wrong." A beat of silence. His hesitation was all the confirmation she needed. His next words were cold. "No wonder I can't talk to you." The words hit like a slap. Riya recoiled, tears burning her eyes. "That's your defense? Turning this on me? You're the one who went behind my back. Because you stopped facing me." Her voice broke. "You've been lying to me for months. And now you're making me feel guilty for finding out." Arjun didn't answer. He just grabbed his clothes and walked out, slamming the bedroom door behind him. Riya sank onto the bed, the weight of the fight crushing her. She had wanted answers, but all she had were more questions, and the sinking feeling that this was the beginning of the end. The breaking point had come, and neither of them knew how to fix it. Riya's hands moved mechanically, folding clothes, stuffing them into her suitcase, pausing only when her fingers brushed against the soft velvet of the earring box. She held it for a moment, then placed it carefully on Arjun's pillow. A silent goodbye. The apartment was too quiet. The hum of the refrigerator, the distant honking of traffic, sounds that had once been background noise now felt deafening. She zipped up her bag and took one last look around. The framed photo of them at the beach, the coffee mug he always left half empty on the counter, the faint imprint of his presence everywhere. Her phone buzzed. Meera's name flashed on the screen. He's better off with someone secure. Riya's thumb hovered over the keyboard, but she didn't reply. What was there to say? That Meera was right? That she had tried, really tried, to be the kind of person who could stay, who could trust, who could love without the constant fear of loss tightening around her throat. She pocketed her phone and picked up her suitcase. The door clicked shut behind her. The train station was crowded, full of people rushing in different directions. Riya bought a one-way ticket to the first destination that came to mind, somewhere coastal, somewhere far. As she waited on the platform, her mind replayed the last fight. "You never let me in," Arjun had said, his voice tired. "It's like you're always halfway out the door." She had wanted to argue, to tell him that wasn't true, but the words had stuck in her throat because he was right. She had spent years preparing for the moment when people would leave, so she always left first. The train arrived with a screech of brakes. Riya boarded, found her seat, and stared out the window as the city blurred past point 3 hours later. Her phone rang. Arjun's name. She let go to voicemail. Then again, and again. Finally, she picked up. "Where are you?" His voice was raw. "On a train." "Riya, I left the earrings," she said quietly at a pause. A pause. "I don't care about the damn earrings." She closed her eyes. "I know. Come back." She could hear the ache in his voice, and for a moment, she wavered. But then Meera's words echoed in her mind. "Better off with someone secure." "I can't," she whispered. The line went silent. Then, so softly she almost missed it. "Why not?" "Because I'm broken. Because I don't know how to stay. Because you deserve more." But all she said was, "I'm sorry." And then she hung up. The train carried her forward, further away, the weight of her choices settling deep in her chest. Months had passed since that night at the restaurant. Since Riya had walked away from Arjun and Meera, her heart a raw, open wound. The city had moved on, the seasons had shifted, but the echoes of their betrayal still lingered in the quiet corners of her mind. She heard about their breakup through mutual friends, whispers over coffee, offhand comments in group chats. Oh, you didn't know? Yeah, Arjun and Meera didn't last. The details were sparse, but the gist was clear. Whatever they had built on the wreckage of her trust had crumbled under its own weight. A part of her wanted to feel vindicated, to revel in the schadenfreude of it all, but mostly, she just felt tired. Therapy helped. At first, she had resisted, sitting in that too-soft chair, picking at the hem of her sleeve while a stranger asked her how she felt. But slowly, session by session, she began untangling the knots in her chest. You ignored your instincts because you didn't trust them, her therapist had said one afternoon. But your gut was right all along. Riya had clenched her fists in her lap. Then why does it still hurt so much? On a bright Saturday morning, Riya found herself standing outside a small boutique she had passed countless times, but never entered. The display window glittered with jewelry, delicate chains, chunky rings, earrings that swung with every turn of the mannequin's head. Her fingers brushed the cool glass as she studied a particular pair, bold, gold hoops with a subtle twist, something that caught the light and held it. They were unapologetic, loud, the kind of thing Meera would never wear. She had always preferred understated pearls, the kind that whispered rather than declared. Riya pushed the door open. The shop smelled of vanilla and metal, the air humming with quiet energy. A saleswoman smiled at her, but Riya waved her off with a polite, just browsing. She didn't need help. This was something she had to do alone. She reached for the hoops, running her thumb over their smooth surface. They were heavier than she expected. Solid. Would you like to try them on? The saleswoman asked, reappearing at her elbow. Riya hesitated, then nodded. In the mirror, the earrings swung gently as she turned her head. They didn't just suit her, they belonged on her. A statement, a reclamation. I'll take them, she said. Later, walking down the street with the weight of the gold in her ears, Riya realized something. She wasn't the same woman who had loved Arjun. That version of her had been softer, more willing to bend. The woman in the mirror now, she knew better. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A message from an old friend. Hey, a bunch of us are grabbing drinks tonight. You in? For the first time in months, Riya didn't overthink her reply. Yeah, I'll be there. She slipped the phone back in her pocket, adjusted her earrings, and kept walking. The sun was warm on her skin. The future, for once, felt light.